Governor Christie standing his ground. On Wednesday, he said he's got no intention of stepping down as chairman of the Republican Governors Association. As you all know, Christie facing fiscal woes, which prompted him to announce major cutbacks to state's pension payments this past week. Governor is also answering questions about whether he thinks the Bridgegate scandal will hurt his political future. Again, Christie saying, no way.
As far as the impact on my political future, I think it will have none, because I didn't do anything. So listen, I understand the circus that this becomes. You know, you get 61% of the vote in a blue state in November, and then all of a sudden, you know, a couple of staff people do something that they shouldn't have done. I fire them, and all of a sudden this becomes the biggest story in the country for a couple of months, because I guess you guys weren't doing anything else down here, so this is what needed to be focused on, right? In the end, what the people of New Jersey know about me is I tell them the truth. I told them I had nothing to do with it, and now you've had all kinds of people looking at this for nearly 4.5 months now, and there hasn't been one suggestion that I knew anything about it. I am not the first chief executive. I see Governor Engler down here. I saw President Clinton backstage before. I'm not the first chief executive who had someone on their staff do something they didn't know something about that they disapproved of and later had to fire them. I don't think that hurt anybody's career, and it's not going to hurt mine. I mean, you know, my future is going to be based upon the record that Mr. Peterson talked about and how people in the state feel about me. And if I decide to do something more, it's going to be how the people in the country feel about me. But I think this will be a footnote.
Nothing to see here. Well, this guy, it's a small story if you don't follow both the judicial system and also the politics of it, but it does say something. Governor Christie nominated this man right here, Chief Justice Stuart Rabner, for tenure on the New Jersey Supreme Court. Now, the governor had promised to remove him and put someone else in his post, but this, as anyone will tell you in Trenton, a clear sign here that his political clout, the governor's that is, has certainly waned. He made a deal with the Democrats that they'll won't stand in the way of one of his nominees for a judicial position, but nonetheless, just a little signpost as to where his power is. Okay. Listen, you got to say anything, but Dom, he certainly sounds like he believes it. And wait, you can make all your jokes here, but do you think at the end of the day, it's November, December, that that this is still going to be as big an issue as it is now?
I wish I could quote the line of someone at the table that made the comment during the commercial break.
Yeah,
but since we can't say that, poor Christie. He is delusional. If you think this is a footnote, why don't you ask the other Republicans that will be running against you for president and see if they think, fellow Republicans, if they think it's a footnote, it's over.
Wait a second, Bill. If he was so toxic right now, why is he still head of the RGA?
I mean, he's definitely taken a big hit. I think he's handled the aftermath as best as he can, and as long as nothing else comes out, he's got a shot at moving forward. But there's no question he's been greatly diminished by this.
He's right.
He starts way behind.
He's absolutely right. Compared to the damage he did to the working people of New Jersey 2 days ago by refusing to pay $2.5 billion into pension and giving the money to the banks, Bridgegate's a footnote. Compared to what he's done when he took the money that should have been going to a linkage across the Hudson and used it to rebuild the Pulaski Skyway because he didn't want to raise taxes, Bridgegate's a footnote. He's right, but for all the wrong reasons.
Richard, is going to go in his obituary. It will be in the first line for the rest of his life as the man that could have won the presidency but blew it because of petty politics and whatever his aides engaged in.
Richard, I'm curious about one thing. I agree with you. It's shameful what went down on the pension move that he did. But do you think that resonates? I know it's a real issue. Let's not debate that. I'm not minimizing it. But does that get translated that his fingerprints?
Not yet. It doesn't. But when the
will
state, yes, it will. When it's time to finally pay the piper in Jersey, and people like in Detroit, there will be recognition of what decisions were made by who that caused the problem.
Past executives in New Jersey, other governors have done the same thing of both parties.
The piper has not yet been paid. They have governors of both parties and legislatures of both parties done terrible, terrible things. Yeah. But the day of reckoning hasn't occurred. It will inevitably occur.
There's another indictment in all of this, which is that, you know, the state's revenue isn't what it was projected to be, and it's not Christie's fault. He can't make the bond payments, and it's not Christie's fault. Or he can't make the pension payment, it's not Christie's fault. The Bridgegate happened, and it's not Christie's fault. Sandy Aid isn't going to the people who need it, and it's not Christie's fault. Every problem that comes up, it's never Chris Christie's fault. At some point, as the chief executive, you have to take responsibility and say, some of this is on my watch, some of this is my fault.
Especially when your whole mantra is the buck stops here, and I'm a no excuse guy.
And if you check his answer for every major problem that has come up in the state of New Jersey, it's never his fault. That doesn't sound like, that doesn't sound like a guy who's primed for future office.
He sure sounds though that he's going to do it.
I think he's going to go for it, but I think only time will tell on this.
You think, Bill, the money guys are still going to be there? I mean, everybody who read behind Ken Langone, among others.
Not at first. Not at first. I mean,
do they break for Bush early, or do they wait to see if he makes it and then they stay in his corner in the meantime?
I think they hedge their bets on it to see how he does. But really, only time will tell. I mean, this story may become so exhausted, or it may just chase him out of the race.
Or he might be indicted. I mean,
Or
you never know.
Or he might run and be too liberal for the Republican Party.
All right.
Oh, that's a good
When
one.
we come back, guys, I want to play for the table, and if you haven't heard it, Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, he's certainly no stranger to controversy, but this was not a screaming rant. He did an interview where he sat down and calmly talked about his views on race, his own prejudices, and he had an apology today. But nonetheless, I want to get your reaction to what he had to say, and if you think that he owed a lot of people apologies as well. Stay with us.